Hello, everyone. This is Laura Sawinski, Group Editor for the Crop Life Media Group. I am hosting this week. I have Eric Siligoy out on a business trip, so I took over the mic and we're going to get this show on the road. My guest today is Erin Hightower from RDO Equipment Company in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. And we're going to talk about a couple things, but Erin, let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I have to admit, I jumped on your LinkedIn site and I saw that you were a member of the AOPA. So
Yes.
tell me about that too.
Oh yeah, I've got strange hobbies. So my name is Erin Hightower. I've been working in the Pacific Northwest for almost 20 years. I started my career actually in natural resource sciences, where I was really working on even in 2006 through 2008, working with spot spraying technologies, different technologies, both on a natural resource quality aspect, and then later on I moved into RDO here about 7 years ago, where now my full time is the agronomy of the equipment. In that we can have all this technology, but if it does not impact the agronomy and the growing capacities for the producers, then it wasn't a good solution for them. So I do a lot of research in that realms. I do a lot of going in and onboarding people with new technologies on an agronomic standpoint. And then yes, on my free time, I am a pilot, a woman pilot, and I've been a pilot since 2015.
Oh, good for you. Well, congratulations. I started my private pilot studies, gosh, I think it was in 2008, right when the economy was taking a dive. So I got as far as my solo, but I didn't do my cross country solo. And I was flying out of Santa Monica, on the West Coast at the time. So it was cool. You take off, you have to go a couple miles offshore and then take a nice bank and you see the beautiful Pacific. It was great. I haven't given up my quest for that license. So good for you.
The dream is still alive. Yep. Yep.
Exactly. Well, thank you. Yeah, you mentioned like onboarding and technology, and I know that's a topic that you're interested to cover today. So I did have a couple questions maybe to kind of start off. I wanted to have you kind of describe that onboarding process for the growers and maybe like what's changed for them over the years. And then kind of the third part to that is for those providers of technology and stuff, what should they be aware of and consider as they go forward on that?
Definitely. And really one of the first things that I really want to say about onboarding technology is that it really has to be personalized. Anything that's canned, first off, the producers see right through it. They've got better things to do than get a canned message that they can go on maybe YouTube and get.
Yeah.
And it also must involve a lot of patience. I actually learned that the hard way with the dairy a few years ago when Sunnyside, where I was out there helping them get started. I was out there once a week, every week. At one point, I got a little impatient. I think we all do right around that planting season, and it showed, and they were negatively impacted by it. So I learned very quickly that it has to be patience is first key. And going back to the personalization, I never started onboarding without, especially when it's something like Operations Center, which is a farm management software, without going, what's your farm like? What keeps you up at night? Who do you report to? Because as soon as I know whether they report to Farm Service Agency or crop insurance or Global Gap, now I'm personalizing that message because I know these are the things that they have to answer to somebody about at some point in the year. Or here in the Pacific Northwest, packing houses or packing warehouses have a lot of say in the information they get when they get that crate of apples or that load of potatoes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of the biggest things I learned, and it was from a speaker that my former boss, Dick Mulbauer, really brought it to my attention, was being willing to make a mistake. If you do not know the answer, go to the same help documentation that you would want them to go to and search it together. Or, sometimes I call my own 1-800, RDO equipment company's 1-800 number in front of the producer and put it on speakerphone, and we'll answer that question together. Because
Mhm.
then when they see that we are willing to make mistakes and here's how good our resources are, if you're showcasing those resources, you're going to end up making a better impression, and they don't feel like they have to learn it all at once.
I
And
love
so,
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot though in the last few years. It used to be that you could just sit down and have a nice little once a year seminar and everybody would get what they needed. But I think technology is moving too quickly for that to be an answer. And then again, being able to personalize that message.
Mhm.
So one of the things I really do is the minute I get to that farm, they sit down,
Mhm.
and then I have them actually click the buttons, kind
Mhm.
of that see, hear, do method. So
Mhm.
they're seeing it in real time. They're physically using the mouse or the iPad or whatever the device is. And that's going to allow them to have visual, auditory, and then also muscle memory when it comes to learning things. It seems to have sunk
Right.
in a lot more with producers when you do it that way.
Yeah, yeah. I really love that approach, the personalized approach, the customized, high touch, super, let's go through this together, especially with kind of that grower experience component where a lot of times, everything looks, nice and new and shiny out of the box, if you will. But then when it comes time to, like you said, you need help or something's not working, that's usually where things get, tripped up. And that to me, it's bound to happen. And that's where that personalized touch and the human experience. I mean, we kind of fretted a little bit, is AI going to take over everyone's job, whether you're a journalist, whether you're agronomist. But I think there's clearly value to be had and to be imparted. So I love that.
Well, and one of the things is also understanding that this isn't you're almost needing some sort of system for on-calling when they have the problem.
Mhm.
Their problem will not happen between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Right.
So I'm really proud of RDO Equipment Company. We have a 24/7, 365 Spanish and English 1-800 number. You call that number, you're going to get an RDO employee who's going to talk you through that technology to the best they can, depending on if they can physically see what's going on or not. And so what it allows us to do is build that lifetime relationship too, that when you're a year or two out, maybe I'm not talking to that person every day, but they know they can still either call me directly or that 1-800 number and get that answered, you know, when they need it, not when I might be available.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And as far as, I just want to spend a little more time on the providers and suppliers, if you
Mhm.
will. What can they learn or what do they need to be mindful of in this onboarding?
I've seen a lot of softwares over the years. I've played with a lot of different technologies over the years. So one of the first ones, and it sounds so simple, it's just a standardization.
Mhm.
Does your menu button look like a menu button? Three
Mhm.
dots, three lines. Which one of these is going to be easier for somebody to go, oh, that's my menu button?
Mhm.
Or I was having a conversation with somebody is, if you see a silhouette of a head and a set of shoulders, you're very likely to go, oh, that means profile.
Mm.
That's my profile button. So just any sort of standardization that we don't get too creative when it comes to those standard buttons. A help
Yep.
button being a question mark goes a long, long way.
Yeah.
The other thing is being mindful of scalability. I've gotten a lot of great softwares over the year, really fantastic ideas,
Mhm.
but their take home messages, we're going to be here for you. You call me and I'll be able to answer your questions and we'll buy in. And then like 2 years later, now they've become very successful and that personalization has gone away. So
Mhm.
whatever you offer your early adopters, maybe make sure that scalability is in mind. Is
Mhm.
my help desk going to be able to do 50 growers now, but will it be able to do 50,000 growers if I'm inevitably successful? The other thing is just standardizing help information. Really excited with what John Deere has done with that in Operations Center, in that their help documentation, first off, it's really easy to use. It's almost like Google, but I really started driving producers over to that the last couple years because I know it gets updated when a thing gets updated, a menu or a new feature gets updated, as compared to trusting, ag, some ag Twitter or some sort of like online where maybe they're using an older display or older version of the software when that's recommendation came out. Keeping in mind that whenever you have a new feature, immediately having new documentation or new help for both the growers and your dealerships are going to go a long way. My favorite story about that, Op Center Pro just had this huge update a couple of weeks ago. I had a producer who's going to demo it this year. And I'm like, oh no, I don't know any of these new features. I literally sat down with the dealership tools, had a 10-minute video. It was literally filmed May 10th, 2024. So
Wow.
like less than 12 days ago. And I'm looking at it 5 days ago and I'm like, wow, this is fresh information. Walked me through all the new steps perfectly. I was able to walk in, plop down in front of that producer, really start walking them through things right away because new tool was immediately followed up by how to use new tool. And so I really think that's an important part of it too, is making sure that whenever you have a new feature, you're immediately backing it up with all the help documentations and thinking about what we need to hear. And in the past, we would rely on the dealerships. Hey, that's your guys' job. Go find the thing out and go redeliver it. But the problem with assuming that the dealerships are going to redeliver that information is that they caught that information in time. Like I just fully admitted, I didn't get caught up in time and was rushing to do the job.
Yeah.
And also, maybe this person bought it from a dealership that's 4 hours away, 6 hours away, so they can't get that personalized experience. They're going to need to rely on you as the, provider of that technology or that equipment to be there with that information.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like an obvious thing, in other words, you introduce new feature, you immediately have it, but I think we've all experienced the fact that that's not often the case, that lag is real and it's a
Or
barrier.
or the other example of it is, and I've actually experienced this with a personal software that I use for personal finances, where they will pop up this nice menu that says, hey, we have new feature, but I'm in the middle of like, I got to see if reconciling my checkbook. I don't have time to read you. Well, then you can never find that feature again to go, oh, they just changed the color. Or no, this was an important feature I need to know about. And going back to Operations Center, that's one thing I do appreciate they do as well, is in their help documentation, they have new features. And the new features stay on there even after you've read them. You can go back down to 2021 and see what they changed in June of 2021. So having that where if you make a new feature, there's a known place to go catch yourself up, because some of these farmers aren't getting in front of computers every day. Some of them are allergic to computers. They either want it on an iPad or not at all, but others, they're not logging on every day. And when they are logging in that first time, they're on a mission. And just being able to take that information and be able to find it and do that homework later goes a long way.
Well, I have a hunch that this topic may be one of many that you are going to address during the panel that you're going to lead.
Yeah.
At Tech Hub Live. And I wanted to say, we appreciate you being on the advisory board for Tech Hub Live, and you're a prolific contributor to Crop Life, so we appreciate that. But tell us about what you're going to do at Tech Hub Live and who you have on the panel. I know we have TopCon, Mag, Road Tech, and Realm 5. I think those are your three panelists. So
Right. And we're still going to kind of go along and see where the discussion takes us. I'm very much more of that kind of person. I want to see where we all agree and disagree on things. But we're going to be talking about the different types of technologies that are coming out. Again, scalability. So there's a reason why that kind of is on top of mind, but also things like which of these technologies should be what we call a performance upgrade kit. You just put it on your pre-existing equipment, and which ones are you got to get it straight from the manufacturer. You've got to get the brand new piece, and where those have positives and negatives. So it's really, we're going to have this great discussion where we're talking about how growth needs to be on equipment management and how growth is going to need to be considerate of these things, especially going into what we all might think this agricultural economy is going to be the next few years. These are all important discussions about how important it is that I hate using the term ROI. I don't like using ROI maybe as a litmus test, but more of how do we make sure that this upgrade is ready so that the amount of money they're putting in really has its benefits really quickly.
Right. You're right. That's a topic that is even more timely and on top of everyone's mind given the current climate. So yeah, you guys are on Monday, or no, excuse me, on Tuesday, July 30th. So
yeah,
we have Women in Ag Tech, our third in-person meeting on Monday, the 29th. And then Tech Hub Live on Tuesday and Wednesday, the 30th and 31st. So techhublive.com is the website to register and to check out your
and I was blown away by it last year. It really has. Tech Hub Live has this great forum where it really makes you rethink things at times. I remember I sat with there was a speaker last year from Yara who was really poignant about talking about if we cannot keep using 1960 standards for nutritional recommendations when we have technology now and genetics, and it just blew my mind. That's been living rent free in my head since Tech Hub Live last year, but also it's giving us a chance to ask those hard-hitting questions to each other. Are you ready for growth? Are we thinking about our producers? And then my favorite, every year we have that panel where real producers sit down and they kind of have a good frank conversation to us about this is what we do like when we get new technology. Here's what we don't like. Here's the technology we want to see. And that panel ends up being half my notes every year. So it's a really exciting opportunity to be with like-minded people but also get those tough questions asked and answered.
You're right. That All Farmers panels, we call it, one of our most popular. Yeah, we have it on the program again, so you'll have to take notes, get a front row seat.
I'll bring a recorder this time because last time I just couldn't even keep up.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Erin, so much for dropping in. I really enjoyed the conversation and super excited to see you in Des Moines at the end of July.
It's coming up soon. I'll see you then.
Okay, thank you.
If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comments section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.